song of celebration. It brings the temperature up a little bit. I gotta confess, I always feel a little conflicted when we sing that song though, because especially when you're singing out like we just did, it's real happy, it's real jovial, everyone's smiling, a rare feat in a church these days. Say, my Jesus is coming soon, morning or night or noon, many will meet their doom. And I'm like, I don't know if I should be that happy about that part. It is a day of celebration, though. I bring warm regards and thanks and gratitude from Matt and Jacinta Sloan. Of course, they welcomed new baby Ruth just this last week. They wanted to pass along their gratitude and their thanks for all of the meals, all of the cards, and all of the prayers. Truly means a lot to them. Thanks for being the family that you are, church. Welcome back to our study of the Gospel of Matthew. We're going to be in chapter 22 today. We get to discuss a passage that, not unlike the song that we just sang, can be a joyous one and also one that causes me to feel convicted, and especially convicted this Sunday. I think you'll see why as you join me in this text for a little bit. If you remember last week, we looked at Jesus, who dropped a flurry of bombs on the chief priests in the form of some back-to-back parables, and they were perfectly timed and they were lethal. They didn't realize what had hit them until they were looking up at the ref with a 10 count from the canvas. And so hopefully they were convicting and challenging for you as well, because he was speaking to the chief priests at the time, and we are together a royal priesthood, a holy nation. And so what Jesus says to them in rebuke is something that we ought to heed as a warning. That is that Jesus has come. He is the Messiah. He is the Lord, and he owns this place, our place, your place. This is his vineyard, and he is coming for the fruit. But I was a little deceptive last week, I must admit, because I presented those two parables as if he was done with his combination. But there is a third parable that Jesus tells right after. And that third parable you've probably heard before, but maybe not in connection with this context. And it's very different in scope from the first two, and it's very different in tone from the first two. And what I want you to consider is that it widens the audience from his direct interactions with that group of chief priests, and he widens it to everybody in the room. And today that room includes me and you. And Jesus begins this parable with a familiar phrase, one that we have talked about time and again as we've been studying the Gospel of Matthew. It is what we named our study of the Gospel of Matthew. It's very much one of the main themes of the Gospel of Matthew. And that's those words that after you hear them, you know something good is coming right after. And that's, the kingdom of heaven is like. You know it's about to get real. So let me ask you a question, an honest question this morning. When you hear those words, the kingdom of heaven is like, when you think of the kingdom of heaven, when you think of heaven, what do you actually see? When I say the words, the kingdom of heaven to you, where does your mind go? What do you see? What do you feel? How does it sound? Do you think of any smells that may be there? What's actually there? What's it like? Who is there? I want to be really honest this morning. I just want to say that we spend a lot of time talking about getting to heaven. We spend a lot of time talking about this kingdom. We intellectually know that the kingdom is here and not yet. Here it's here in part, but not in its fulfillment until Jesus returns. And so sometimes I think we struggle, if we're being honest, with what it actually means to our hearts to think about the kingdom of heaven, to think about what it actually is. What emotions come with that thought? Does it inspire any visions for you? What hopes does it conjure up for you? I think today's message for just a few minutes as we talk might be one of the most important that you'll get out of the Gospel of Matthew. I'm not exaggerating this, and I'll tell you every time I have the chance, you and all humans are hope-based creatures. What we believe about the future means everything about the decisions we will make now, the feelings we feel now, and how we experience life as it is. So today, we consider this invitation from Jesus, if you will. And before we jump into the text now, we haven't even gone 5 minutes yet. I got time. Cut the alarm. I'm just kidding. I was joking with the folks at the men's retreat yesterday about how we run a little bit long here sometimes, but all in good faith and all for a good purpose. I want you to go back to what I'm talking about with this kingdom of heaven, though. What actually comes to your mind? I'm going to give you some participation this morning. So when I say the kingdom of heaven, what are the first things that pop into your mind? What do you think of? What comes up? Gold, streets of gold. Anything else? Are we settled with gold? We good? A robe and a crown, a mansion robe and a crown. That should remind you of a song. Maybe you probably think of singing and praise. Now, if I had to predict which of the services was going to be the sleepiest and least participative, I surely would have guessed the 8 a.m. What do y'all think about heaven? Family. Oh, that's a good one. We think about family. Those that have passed on that we long to see again. Singing and praise. Maybe think about being around the throne. Someone in the first service said clouds. And I was like, yeah, that's fair. A bed of clouds. That heavenly cloud bed. I want you to read verses 1-4 with me really quick. Jesus spoke to them in parables. The kingdom of heaven may be compared to a king who gave a wedding feast for his son. He sent his servants to call those who were invited to the wedding feast, but they would not come. And again, he sent out other servants saying, tell those who are invited, see, I have prepared my dinner. My oxen, my fat calves have been slaughtered. Everything is ready. Come to the wedding feast. You know what nobody just shouted out when they think about heaven? That it's a party. That it's a feast, that it's a banquet. Yet that is exactly what Jesus says right here. He says it's a feast, the feast of all feasts. It's a great banquet. The kingdom of heaven is like a party, a wedding party. And he doesn't only say it in this place. Jesus frequently draws on this imagery in the Old Testament and the prophecy about the great banquet day of the Lord, when the streams will all flow with the best wine and trees will cry out in praise and worship. Jesus comes bringing his kingdom, and he says that his kingdom is like a party. He says, I am the Lord of the feast. He does this all the time from beginning to end, bookends his ministry with it. Do you remember what Jesus' first miracle that he ever worked was? The first record that we ever have. We actually find that in the Gospel of John. It's not here in Matthew. And what's significant about the Gospel of John is John calls the miracles that Jesus does signs, because he's chosen 7 of them specifically to reveal a very important thing about the nature of Jesus and who he is and what he's about. And the very first thing that Jesus does, the first sign that happens at a party. It happens at a party in Cana, in a little village that the party was dying and it was in danger of becoming a huge disappointment. And there's no more uncomfortable feeling than when you're at a party you don't want to be at anymore because it's not a good party. And so Jesus' coming out party was at a party where he changed water into the best wine to keep the party going. And isn't that kind of a weird coming out party for Jesus? A weird first sign, a weird first miracle. You would think that as the Messiah, the Christ, the one everyone was looking for to come and liberate them, maybe your first miracle would be to heal somebody, because he's going to do a lot of that. Here's a taste of things to come. You can expect healing wherever I go. Or maybe it would be to raise someone from the dead. You can expect the resurrection, because that's what this whole thing is about. Or if he really wanted to curry the favor of the people that were waiting in expectation for him, he could have tossed a whole Roman legion off a cliff somewhere and said, this is what the kingdom is about. Wouldn't that be an appropriate first sign? But the first sign that the Messiah, the living God in the flesh, gave was to give the region of Galilee the best party that it had ever seen. And John records this as the first sign because it means something. It means that the kingdom is a party. And if that confuses you, and if you've never considered that, and maybe even it makes you a little uncomfortable, you don't understand what Jesus is about, what his kingdom is about. I want you to go back to those thoughts from a few minutes ago. What do you really think your whole walk as a Christian is about? What is this Christian life about? What is heaven about? What is Jesus looking forward to? What's it really all for? What do you see and what do you feel when you think about your place in the kingdom right now? A lot of people think of Christianity basically as just a thing where, don't smile too much, keep your nose clean, obey the rules, read the bulletin when they pass it around, donate some money, stay in line, don't ruffle too many feathers, don't have too much fun, because you need to know the Christian life is not a fun life, but it's the price you have to pay if you want to get into heaven. Is that how you feel about your Christianity? Is that how you feel about your faith? Is that how you feel about the Jesus that you follow? Is that what it means to you? But Jesus is saying, everywhere I go, streams break forth in the dry desert. Everywhere I go, dead things bloom. Everywhere I go, dead things get up and live again. Everywhere I go is unending joy and festival and banquet and celebration and party. I'm afraid too many of us sign up rightfully for the pain that comes with being a Christian, because he said, also in this world you will have trouble. You will suffer. Fear not, for I've overcome the world. It's not an easy life. And we sign up for the pain of Christianity, but we don't sign up or accept the invitation to the party that is Christianity. The truth is, a lot of Christians live like Eastern religions. They live like Buddhists and don't even know it. Are you a Christian Buddhist? If you know anything about that religion, you'll probably laugh when you think about this. I'm going to give an oversimplification, but this is simply what it boils down to. A Buddhist believes that their goal in life is to empty themselves of desire. Their goal in life is to just long to escape the world. And their aim is just to strive to be kind and nice. And there are a whole lot of Christians who don't understand the kind of party that Jesus is inviting us to. And we live lives emptied of joy, longing to escape the world. And we think that our goal in life is basically just to be nice. Is that you this morning? No. Jesus says the kingdom of heaven is the feast of all feasts. It's the party of all parties. It's not a party that you don't want to be at. It's not a party that you don't want to respond to. It's the only kind of party that's going to be worth going to. It's where the best wines flow, where the best meats flow, where real barbecue is, not Carolina barbecue, Texas brisket barbecue, beef rib barbecue, fall off the bone rib barbecue. It's where there are no GMOs and no seed oils in the food at the barbecue. It's the best kind of party, filet mignon wrapped in bacon. There's music and DJ Seraphim is dropping the banger after banger after banger. David is there like cherub, hit the track, I'm about to dance with all my might before the Lord to a song I wrote 6,000 years ago. And there is nothing more gangster than dancing to a song that you wrote 6,000 years ago. So go ahead, David, you deserved it. It's a party where no one can crush the vibe. It's a party that never feels like it's going on too long, and yet at the same time, it goes on forever. And the best part about the party is just not all of the benefits you get from all the things that I just mentioned. The best thing about the party is that you're there too. And everything is perfect at the party, but you're actually perfect as well. I just want you to wake up for a second and envision you woke up for the first time since you were 11 and there was not a blemish on your face. No breakout, nothing to cover up, no patches, no foundation, no mascara, no nothing. No dark circles under your eyes, no crow's feet. Man, I can't promise to get your hair back, but maybe we can dream. You are actually as God envisioned you from the beginning. All of your clothes fit. When you wake up at the heavenly party, you get to go to that closet in your little room in the mansion, and you don't have a selection of clothes that you promised yourself you'd fit in again someday. They all fit. It's no dad bods in heaven. It's all glorified bods in heaven. It's a beautiful place. And inside of you is strangely perfect too, not just outside of you. Because for the first time, maybe ever, that you can remember, you're not anxious about anything. You didn't wake up with a sense of impending dread and a weight around your neck and a weight on your chest. Even better, you're not worried about who else is going to be there. How many different events have you been to where you're already not enjoying it before you get there just because you're thinking about who else is probably going to be there? And you rob yourself of the joy before you're even there. But not at this party. At this party, there's no one you're jealous of, and there's no one you're resentful of. And so you feel good, except the way you feel good is better than you've ever recognized it before, because you never realized until you were there that you had never truly felt good before. Because all of this is a shadow of things to come. And the goodness you taste here is just a shadow and a hint and a whisper of the goodness you will feel there. You're not going to have any insecurities there. You can just be you the way God envisioned you. Radiant like a bride. Nothing in the world can stop your shine. Just pure joy. Guys, do you get what Jesus is actually inviting you to? I'm afraid to say it is going to be filled with worship around the throne, yes, but it's not going to be just an ongoing ethereal song service in the sky. I love my song services, and we love our song services, but if there's one too many selections, we're like, okay, wrap it up. Do we have to sing all 4 verses? Why can't we do verse 1, 2, and 4? What is going on? You're not going to be like that in heaven. That's not how it works. Don't you get it? Jesus is proposing a party that exceeds your wildest expectations. It is curated by the King himself, and it's everything you've ever dreamed of and everything you haven't on top of it. So before we go any further, there's enough just in these words of this invitation and him saying this is what the kingdom is like for you to take this and pack it up and go home and stop wearing your Christianity like some kind of painful burden around your neck, something you have to do as opposed to something you get to do. Your faith, your walk as a disciple with Jesus is not just a thing where you define your fitness for the kingdom by how stiff and unhappy and rigid and stoic you can be. It's a joyful place. It's a place where people aren't afraid to smile. And when they see Alex say, hey, sing out, and he starts doing that little two-step singing, you're like, go ahead, Alex. This is a happy song. Self-control is a fruit of the Spirit. We're rightful to exercise it. But today, my mission is to remind you that joy, unadulterated, unbridled joy, is a fruit of the Spirit too. And if we're missing facets of the fruit of the Spirit, we have to seriously consider, is this the kind of party I'm signing up for? Do you have joy in your life? Do you have joy emanating from you? Are you a joy to be around, or are you a pain to be around? Is the kingdom of heaven a party to you, or does it sound like a pain to you? And before you answer that, I want to explain to you how this party actually works, because you deserve to know what you're signing up for. And Jesus gave us a lot more parable for us to look at and understand. And you got to know how this party actually works, because it's not like any party that you've experienced before. This party is going to break the rules. So in verses 5 through 10, we get a little bit more detail about this party. He goes on to say that he sent word that I've prepared my dinner, my oxen, my fat calves have been slaughtered, and everything is ready. Come to the wedding feast. But they paid no attention, and they went off, one to his farm, another to his business, while the rest seized his servants, treated them shamefully, and killed them. And the king was angry, and he sent his troops and destroyed those murders and burned their city. And he said to his servants, the wedding feast is ready, but those invited were not worthy. Go therefore to the main roads and invite to the wedding feast as many as you find. And those servants went out into the roads and gathered all whom they found, both good and bad. Please hold that for later. So the wedding hall was filled with guests. I want you to think back to the favorite party you have had in your entire life. For many of you, it might have happened as a kid. I know that it happened for me as a kid. My mom was not the type to throw a big birthday party every year. She had a philosophy that real birthday parties were supposed to be kind of special. So she did this kind of every 4-year thing. So you would have parties at the right time. At 4, you're old enough to remember what is happening, and it becomes kind of a special thing. At 8, you have like your first real social circle, and then you get to invite your friends, and that's fun. At 12, you're about to be a teenager, so that's kind of another level, and you get to do special things with that. And then at 16, of course, you're getting your driver's license, and that's it. No more big parties for you. But we had 4 really good ones. And I want to tell you that she really set the bar high at number 4. That is still my favorite birthday party of all time, and I kid you not. Not only did I get to have a cake with my friends, I also landed one of those sweet, sweet red Power Wheels Jeeps. Some of y'all know what those are. Poor plastic construction electric vehicle. And you would whip around your backyard or your neighborhood in that thing for exactly 17 minutes, because that's all the longer the battery would work. And I'm convinced now that that was by design, because when you hear that screech going down the driveway and you see your kid fishtailing and running into things, you immediately regret it, and the battery will save you. Daddy, it's not moving anymore. I don't know what happened, son. We got to charge it. It worked perfectly. So I got one of those, and I'm whipping around the neighborhood. But here's the thing that really made the birthday party special, and why I remember it to this day. At 4 years old, I was already an avid Ninja Turtles fan. And not like an avid Ninja Turtles fan. So obsessed with the Ninja Turtles that at 38, I'm talking to you about them right now, and happy to do so. This was me circa 1990. I got the whole thing. I got the bands. I got the fake plastic weapons. I never got in trouble with those, I promise. Actually, it's probably the last time I was allowed to have them. They had to take them away very shortly after. I got the bandana. I got a little turtle nose. And if you never saw a little kid with an afro puff and a turtle nose, now you have. Congratulations. That's not the best of it, because at my actual birthday party, Mom arranged for a Ninja Turtle to actually show up. That is right. The Michelangelo came to my party, and he brought a pizza. I don't remember the names of anybody else at the party, but I know Michelangelo was there. And to this day, still my favorite party, still the most moment filled with joy in my life. Maggie is not here at this service, so I can say in safety that sometimes she gets close. But Mikey, you got my heart, bro. You made my day. Here's the thing. Making a great party like that takes a lot of time. Way more time than the people who enjoy it will ever quite grasp. Because you got to plan if you're going to have a good party. You got to spare no expense if you're going to have a good party. You got to make orders and gifts and decorations. You actually have to decorate. You have to send out RSVPs. You have to wait for people not to RSVP on time. You have to do the decorations. You have to cook or provide the food. Then you actually have to host it and pretend that you're not tired when all that stuff actually really exhausted you, and you'd be happy if nobody showed up by the time it gets there. But to a kid who doesn't understand what goes into making a good party, they take that moment that some of y'all are familiar with from back in the day when you used to jump in the car on a road trip, 6 or 7 hour road trip, and 13 minutes in, they hit you with the, "Are we there yet?" Because they're excited to get wherever they're going. And once they start asking that question, it is not going to stop. But a kid waiting for a party is exactly like that. A kid on Christmas morning is in your bedroom at 6 a.m. saying, "Hey, did Santa come? I know there's stuff out there. Let's go get it." And your parents are just like, no. And it's a lot easier today, I have to say. Not only do you not get the crappy red Power Wheels Jeep, I see kids pushing around little facsimile Mercedes-Benz Power Wheels now. Things have changed. And "Are we there yet?" has been absorbed by Bluey and a perfectly timed and placed iPad. Salute to you parents out there today. But what I'm trying to say, as a kid, you just don't understand what it takes to make it happen. And on a cosmic scale, with God, we are like this when it comes to the kingdom that is already but not yet. If you just open your phone at any point during this day, you will open it and scroll. And if you have folks that are in any theological circle, chances are you're going to see somebody talking about the signs of the times. You're going to see somebody predicting that these are the last days. And are you watching the world events? And they are trying to predict the day and the hour, even though Jesus said nobody knows the day or the hour. And it's natural because we're all just saying to God, "Can you get us out of this mess and get the party started?" We know that the kingdom has come into our lives already by the power of the Holy Spirit, but when is the kingdom going to start here in full? We want to go now. Are we there yet? And God says, good things, the really good things, take time. Let me cook. I'm going to take care of it. And the reality is we don't just do this with our predictions of the future. It happens in our personal interactions with God too, because we want what we want now, and we are like little kids when God is not doing the things we want as fast as we want, the way we want, and how we want. If life doesn't look the way that we think it should or we think that we deserve, if we commit to follow Jesus and our career doesn't go the way that we expected or think it should, or if we're single longer than we thought we wanted to be, or he doesn't immediately fix our relationships with our kids or our parents, or our life remains harder than we think someone who's trying to be good should live, we look at God and we say, "I thought you promised me a party. Why would I follow you and be faithful to you if this is the thanks that I'm going to get? You know what, God? This isn't my kind of party after all. I can have more fun somewhere else." The kingdom of heaven is a great party and a great feast, but God has taken his time because your God doesn't miss. And this party is not going to be a dud. And it takes time to prepare. And he's taking his time because he loves the guest list so much. Speaking of the guest list, we just read in verses 5 through 11, it brings us to another upside down aspect of this kind of party. Because one of the main things you need to make a good party is what? People. And who's going to be there makes a big difference about what kind of party it's going to be, doesn't it? Now, when you were 4, it didn't matter so much who was there. That's why I don't remember their names, but I remember my turtle bro. But as you grow, parties become more social entities. And people start to get invited to parties if they're popular or liked or bring a certain part of status or they're part of the right crowd. And so what happens as you get older and you start being invited to parties, not being invited to parties, you end up wanting to go to parties not even because of the fun that you have at the party or not even because you like the person who's throwing the party, but because you know getting invited to the party says something about you. And I've heard so many people say, "I didn't even want to go, but it's just rude they didn't invite me." Yeah, we've all been there, haven't we, right? You see, we can't fool each other. We have been to parties before and we don't even like that person. We just want to be there because it gave us some status to be invited. It meant we were important to somebody, it's part of some in crowd, and we still do it. We do it as professionals. We go to networking events and we go for the social expectation, and we can't wait to get out the door as soon as we can. I'm afraid to say some people treat church that way too. And I don't know if I can say that, but I already did. So I'll apologize and repent here in a few minutes. Some of us are masters of the Irish goodbye. You know what that is? Yeah, the Irish goodbye is when you just have coded eyes that you can send to your spouse, your significant other, your bro across the room, and you've agreed ahead of time. When I give you the look, we are out. We're not saying a word to nobody. Don't say goodbye to anyone because it's going to be another 20-minute conversation. We're trying to get out the door. So we get good at disappearing. Some of us have little codes like that worked out. And some folks do seem to have similar habits when they're considering the kingdom of heaven. But here's why I believe that's the case. I believe that's the case because people who aren't enjoying the party are people that aren't there for the host. And people who aren't enjoying the party will bolt for the doors before most. So listen, I'm not trying to be accusatory here. I don't blame you because for many of us, coming to church is exactly what we said a few minutes ago. We feel like we have to go. And we're not sure if we actually even enjoy being here as much as we let on or as much as we would say. There's no joy in those eyes. For many, there's no passion in that voice. There's no emotion in that body because nobody ever told you this is supposed to be a party. This is your chance today. It takes something else to enjoy it, though, once you get your mind around that. And it takes realizing that in this party, it's a situation where you don't have to come, but you get to come. And that means it's going to take humility. And it takes two different kinds of humility in order for that to actually be something that you enjoy thinking about. The first thing to come to this party in the kingdom of heaven is you're going to have to not care about who else is there. Heaven is a party where you don't get to decide whether you want to attend based on who you're rubbing shoulders with. It's filled with all of the common folk, the folks you may not expect. And I know I can just incriminate myself. As a millennial, we hate committing to things ahead of time. And maybe there are other generations that are like us. But have you ever been in the situation where you committed to something a month in advance? And then as the day draws closer, you wish I wouldn't have committed to that. I don't really feel like going anymore. Or you had a riff with someone who you know was going to be there, and all of a sudden it doesn't sound good to be there anymore. Or maybe you made plans with somebody, and the day of, you're trying to think of an excuse to get out of it, and they hit you with a text, and they're like, under the weather today, we're going to have to reschedule. And you're like, man, I am crushed. I was looking forward to this so much. Grabs popcorn. I really wish we could go tonight. Grabs cat. I'm so sorry that I have to stay home by myself tonight. Grab your drink and sit down and get ready to binge some Netflix. Yeah, this is how we are. Heaven is not a place where you get to decide whether you're going based on who else is going to be there or not. I have asked the question to people who have invited me places this, well, who all's over there? That's what I'm going to say before I decide if I want to go. Heaven's not that kind of party. Jesus says, and this parable says, that heaven is filled with the unimpressive, the broken, the tax scammers, the IRS agents, the prostitutes, the OnlyFans girls. The kingdom is filled with those who don't deserve it. It's filled with people you wouldn't invite. It's people that could never earn it. And again and again and again, Jesus has been saying all through Matthew that his kingdom is made of the outsider and the marginalized, the people who don't have influence, the people who don't have renown, the people who don't make your party look good or desirable to be at. Now read what happens with the king's invitations here. The people you would want at your party, the people on the guest list at the beginning, they can't even be bothered to show up. It's not important enough to them. Something else has gotten in the way. More on that in just a minute, but what you need to know is that God is determined. He is going to have his party. The show is going to go on with or without you. He is going to have his feast. And that's why it takes humility to enjoy this party. I hope this will hit you in the heart because I need this just like you as sure as I stand here today. It takes humility to accept an invitation to a party in which there is nothing you need to bring or can bring that will make you fit and acceptable for it. I'm going to say that one more time. It will take humility and the emptying of pride to accept an invitation to a party for which there's nothing you can bring that will make it better, and there is nothing that you can do to make yourself fit for it. In this day, if a king threw a party like this, the people who would agree to come would show up to the palace a day or days early. Hours early at least, and they would first be bathed, they would be perfumed, they'd be given the right clothes and garments suitable for the occasion. They would bring nothing with them. There is no sense in which you could make yourself ready for a party like this. No sense in which you can make yourself acceptable because the king has already figured into his plans the expense of your clothing and making you fit for the celebration. And when you come, it is all given to you. It is part of the party package. And I'm convinced that this is the biggest barrier for people who have been in church for years. And at the same time, it's the biggest barrier for people who have never been in church. And it's definitely the barrier for us as Americans in general, because if there's one thing that's true about us is we don't want anybody's charity. And when we see people who are a little too willing to rely on charity, we scoff and we sneer and we judge. If you don't think this is true of you, think how hard it is for you right now just to accept a gift from somebody without trying to pay them back. How many of you have received a gift from someone when you weren't expecting it? Maybe they brought you a birthday gift when you didn't even remember what their birthday was. And instead of immediately being moved with gratitude and thanks, you felt shame and you felt like, now I better do a better job remembering their birthday. You will say, oh, you shouldn't have. And they're like, oh, they don't mean that. But deep down, you really did mean that. Because it's hard for you to accept something without feeling like you owe something. And it is wired into us to be so obsessed with pulling ourselves up, making something of ourselves, not needing help, not being weak, not being a burden to others, that we reject many of the blessings that are supposed to be a part of our experience in the kingdom and family of God. And so many will suffer and never ask for help. Many, even among our number, maybe in this room right now, will hide it because they feel embarrassed. And when someone asks you if you're okay, you will say you are fine. And you know inside things are very much not fine. When people offer to help, you say, I couldn't accept that. We hate taking what we consider to be a handout. We think it makes us some sort of devil. So we suffer in silence and we're robbed of the joy we should have in this party that is called the kingdom of heaven because we lack the humility not to admit that we need help, because we'll say that the textbook answer all the time. One of the times we lack the most is the humility to actually receive help. Here's the thing. If you aren't the kind of person who can accept help, if you are the kind of person that can accept a gift without feeling guilty, if you are the kind of person who can't accept a gift without trying to pay someone back for it, then this might not be your kind of party. Look at this parable. Verse 4, everything is ready. It's all done. There's nothing you can bring or prepare. It's all taken care of. You can't bring anything to this party that will make it better. Heaven is not a potluck. Heaven is not a dinner where you get to go Dutch and pay your part. If you got invited to the most fancy restaurant in all of Texas, $500 a plate, prefix menu, 3-star Michelin chef, and you had a good friend that just said, I just want you to be here with me and celebrate with me. I just need your presence. And you thought, man, I've never been anywhere like that before. Oh my goodness, I can't believe they spend that much money to me. I have to do something. Okay, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to bring... And you grab a couple of dusty old Hot Pockets from your freezer. And you showed up to that dinner and you sat at that table and they brought out the first course and you enjoyed it and it was good. And before the second course, you were like, I have just the thing. This is Philly cheesesteak. It's funny because it would be so insulting to your friend. It would be insulting to the chef. They might throw you out. I know places in Texas where if you ask for steak sauce, they will throw you out of the restaurant. I can't imagine what this would look like. You wouldn't even want that person there anymore. Like, if you can't just receive what I'm trying to bless you with and be my friend in relationship with me, if you can't just have this joyful moment with me, I don't even want you here. And I need you to see. This parable asks you to see, and Jesus wants you to see, that if you are determined to earn your way into this party, it is not the party for you, because that is exactly what you were trying to do. If you show up to Jesus carrying your good deeds and your record and all the things you've been doing to try to earn your place, it is an insult to Jesus. It's an insult to what he's already paid. Every time you say to Jesus, you couldn't forgive someone like me. Do you know what that really means? It means you are still trying to somehow make yourself fit for the occasion that he's inviting you to. Every time you try to do something where you say to yourself, if I do this, then God will love me. If I'm better, then God will love me. If I do better, then I'll be good enough for heaven. You are doing the same thing. It's like showing up to a dinner with the world's top shelf and pulling out like a kid cuisine TV dinner or something. You got nothing to offer but freezer burn and just dissatisfaction. There's nothing there that you can bring. Jesus says, I have already paid the price for your entry. I've already taken care of everything. It is finished. Everything is ready. There's nothing you can bring. This is an inarguable aspect of the gospel. You do not deserve to be at the party you get to go to, and you never will. I never will. But we get to be at the party because Jesus paid for us to be there. Because Jesus wants us to be there, and because he's taking care of everything. Jesus says, you can't bring anything to this party that will be an honor to me except for you, but not part of you, all of you, full humility and filled with joy and gratitude, you. Imagine you could actually enjoy a party without worrying about what you have to do to keep up appearances, because the tab is paid in full. Some of you are saying, I don't even like parties that much, Marcus. This is not a satisfying sales pitch on heaven for me because I try to avoid every party that I can. And the reason why you avoid the parties is because of all of the different entrapments that have to come with them. All the people you have to impress, the people you have to talk to that you don't like and pretend that you like them, all the stuff that's expected of you, the time that is needed from you, the fact that it's going to go on way too long and you can't get out of there without looking rude. I want you to imagine one where none of those things are in play. But the sad truth is many Christians today aren't experiencing the joy that Jesus brings to his party because they are afraid they are not going to get to go because they know they can't pay their way. Some of us don't experience joy because of that. And they've been here in church for 70 years. And if they were sitting right here on the front row, I would walk up to them and I'd say, hey, if the Lord took you today, would you be with Jesus? And they would genuinely say, I hope. But it's not a scriptural hope, a hopeful expectation, a certain awaiting. It's I hope I was good enough. I hope I did enough. They're still trying to pay their way into the party. They never experienced the joy that Jesus promises. And there are also those of us who don't experience his joy because deep down our pride won't let us and we will refuse to go if we can't pay our way. If I can't do something, then I don't know if it's a party that I want to be at. And once you understand that, you will look and see the responses to this invitation that go out in this parable, and they'll make much more sense to you. And you see people that are wanting to do things their own way. They want to be in the world of the Messiah, but they don't want to walk in the way of the Messiah. They want to be in the party and the wedding feast of the Messiah, but they don't want to abide by his way. And that's what you see in verse 11 through 14. The king comes in to look at all of these new people who are in the wedding feast hall, and he sees someone who's not dressed in the right garment. He's like, what are you doing here? He showed up to the Michelin star meal with a Hot Pocket. What are you doing here, man? You're trying to dress in your own good deeds, your own righteousness. You're wearing your own clothes. I got you the clothes that would make you fit to be here. You don't belong. And we sing again and again and again, dressed in his righteousness alone, faultless to stand before the throne. But we don't really believe that we're going to be dressed in his righteousness alone. We believe we're going to be dressed in our righteousness along with his righteousness. And somehow that gets us in. And Jesus in this parable says, no, that's not what gets you in. And they're cast out. And this is so common to us. We look at people and we see that they can't be bothered to show up. They find any and everything else to do. They put their business first. They put their field first. They lack the understanding and the humility needed for this party to be the priority. This party is not the kind of party that we're naturally prepared for. It's not the kind of party that happens at the right time, in the right way, or in the right place. The religious people that Jesus is talking to claim to speak for God. They're the ones on the guest list, but they're the ones who aren't even interested in showing up. What we need to be careful about as we honestly ask ourselves is this: am I insistent that God throws the kind of party that I want him to throw? Am I actually interested in the kind of kingdom, the kind of heaven that Jesus is proposing? Am I determined not to have any joy in my life? Have I found my rigidity and my tightness as a sign of seriousness and faith? Have I allowed myself to become too stoic and jaded and I don't even find the idea of a party like this to even be desirable right now. This message does nothing for me, Marcus. Actually, I'd rather go back to what I was thinking before. We have to ask ourselves if we're blinded by the fact that God's definition of a party is not generally our definition of a party. Am I distracted by the worries of the world like the people in this parable? Am I distracted by my own agenda and my own idolatry that I don't even hear God's invitation? Do I see the parties that God is throwing right now, that the kingdom is not just something that we look forward to in the great by and by, but that Jesus says when the Holy Spirit comes into your life, the kingdom starts to go out from you right in that very moment, that the party has already started, if you will. Do we even see that and recognize that? Healing going forth from the hearts that God is changing. Love and joy and blessings going forth into a dark world. We're also tempted to assume that this parable doesn't apply to us. Deep down, we think we know better. And if we're not careful, we begin to believe that God works for us, that we earn this thing by our good works, and that he throws the kind of party we want, when we want, how we want, and we miss out on what God is actually doing right here and right now. Some of us miss the party. Some of us, like in this parable, reject the host. It says they killed the original messengers. What you got to know is that when you reject this RSVP, it's not just a rejection of the party, it's a rejection of Jesus. And so when you put your business or your field or anything, when you let your pride and your preferences, your need to prove or position yourself in front of just responding to him and genuinely, you're not just rejecting the party, you're rejecting Jesus himself. And so I have one last parting thought for you this morning. One last wrinkle. And it's the part that convicted me and caused me to take this message the trajectory that it's gone today. It's a harrowing application, I think. It's the scary part, if you will. If you read closely the account here in Matthew, there's a mirroring account of this parable in the Gospel of Luke as well. You'll see that the people who decided not to come and the people who hated the host so much that they killed the messengers must not have rejected the original invitation. They decided not to come ultimately, but if you look closely, it says the king sent out invitations, and then he went back and he prepared the feast, and when everything was ready, he sent the messengers back a second time. Now, if you've sent out invitations to a party before, you know that you don't send out directions and you don't send out instructions to people that don't RSVP. So when he sends the messengers back to say, hey, things are ready, it's time for you to come, it means that those are not random worldly people out there that couldn't have cared less and didn't have any knowledge about God. These are people that had RSVP'd. These are not people that are just out there doing their own thing. We don't have the luxury of assuming this parable is talking about the people who aren't serious about God like us. These were people who said they were coming. They said, I'll be there. They said, bet on it. They start out believing. They start out saying, it sounds great, but in the end, they end up not coming because of whatever excuse they have. These are people who think they're coming to the kingdom. They think they're going to heaven. They believe the beginnings of the Christian faith. They have the basics, but in the end, they choose not to come. And you might say, that doesn't make sense to me. That is crazy. How and why? But if you look at why they chose not to come, it makes all the sense in the world. These were people that thought the banquet was not going to disturb their normal lives. These were people that thought they could be a part of the kingdom and it wasn't going to disrupt their schedule, their agenda, their preferences, or their goals. And if you remember what Jesus said when he walked in like he owned the place, no, I'm the king. This is my house. This is my vineyard. And this is my party, and it is popping off tonight. Nothing can come in the way. I've got to be first in your life. Your obedience to me as your king, your commitment to the business of the kingdom has to come even before your own business. If my values make it hard for you to make as much money as you would have otherwise, if you have a much smaller pool of people from which you can pick to date and choose as a spouse, if all of these things that come with serving me faithfully cramp your vibe and cramp your style, then you need to know you haven't ever actually really entered my kingdom, and this is not the party for you. So it's a convicting, harrowing question for us. Church, is Jesus' party actually your kind of party? If it is, it means you have humbled yourself to the reality that the coming kingdom is taking some time. And we're not going to be like little children throwing temper tantrums about the fact that God hasn't done things our way or as fast as we thought that he should. It'll mean that we have humbled ourselves in light of the grace of the kingdom, That all of us are here and all of us will only ever be there out of sheer charity and sheer grace, that we can't possibly get ourselves in the condition of being worthy. We have to admit that it's pride that makes it impossible for us to reach out and say, Jesus, I surrender fully. Lord, come in your kingdom. It means we'll be humble enough not to scoff at the guest list, especially those who aren't as serious or respectable or accomplished or dedicated as us. Can we admit that we're all just as needy sinners as the prostitutes and tax collectors, the drunkards and the swindlers? Do you realize that that is you too? Because if you do, I have good news. Jesus loves to show his power in people just like you. That's what he loves to do most. And so no matter where you are today, it doesn't matter how far away you think you are. The kingdom of heaven means no matter how far gone you are, your goneness is no match for Jesus' goodness. He will have his party. He is going to fill it, and you are never too late or too wicked. And I got to be honest, that is good news to me because I know how busted I am, and that's my kind of party. The kingdom of heaven is like a party. It's the best party, the best of everything with no end. And so I'll just ask you, in summation this morning, isn't that something to be excited about? Isn't that something you have some joy about? Is that your kind of party? Are you considering how you might respond to that invitation that is before you? The RSVPs are out this morning, church, and I will just tell you this, Jesus remains to this moment waiting at the door. We're going to sing a song in just a few seconds where if you need to take a step towards Jesus, it's a great time to join the party. We would love to celebrate with you. And otherwise, if you're just going to sing, I really want you to sing with some passion and some joy and some love and some emotion. This is an all-time power hymn, by the way. If this song doesn't light you up, then yeah, if someone said, an old Texan told me, if that doesn't ring your bell, your clapper's broken. So if we don't hear you, we know it's not your kind of party, but I suspect that it is. So let the Lord have it in praise as we stand and sing.